They gave me my late father's car, but the mechanic uncovered a secret he never meant to share. If this story resonates with you, consider following for more heartfelt journeys. Your support truly matters. The day I inherited my father's 1967 Mustang GT was the day I realized how little I truly knew him. He'd been gone for 3 months. Lung cancer claimed him swiftly to fast 4 proper goodbyes. When Mom pressed the keys into my hand, her fingers trembled, eyes red and full of hushed words. "He wanted you to have it, Michael," she whispered, her voice fraying at the edges. "Said you'd know what to do with it." I didn't, not really. That car had always been Dad's escape, his weekend ritual. As a kid, I'd stand in the doorway of the garage, watching him work in silence, his hands rough, yet strangely delicate as they moved over engine parts. Sometimes he'd call me over, try to teach me something, but back then, I had more interest in parties and friends than carburetors and socket wrenches. Nah, I would have traded anything just to hear his voice again. The Mustang Saturday dormant under a beige cover, still parked in my parents' garage. When I peeled the fabric back, the deep midnight blue paint gleamed like it had been waxed yesterday. Even in the dim light, the chrome sparkled, Dad's obsession with detail immortalized in steel. I ran my hand along the hood. The cool metal felt like a handshake from a ghost. How many nights had I spent here, alone, while I was too busy, living my life elsewhere? "I don't know the first thing about keeping this running," I told Mom, who lingered in the doorway, arms wrapped tightly around herself. "He kept records. Everything's in the glove box," she replied softly. "He always said that car would outlive all of us if someone loved it right." I slipped into the driver's seat. The leather still held his shape, his scent a familiar mix of Old Spice and polish rising up around me, like a memory come alive. I closed my eyes, half expecting his gruff voice to say, "Check your mirrors, son." Turning the key, the Mustang whirred awake with a deep, throaty growl. The sound hit me in the chest, loud, and full of presence. For a moment, I just sat there, listening, grieving, remembering. Inside the glove compartment, I found a leather-bound logbook, Dad's handwriting, neat and mechanical, every oil change and tire rotation documented like he was filing mission reports. But something stood out. In the margins of certain entries, I noticed odd symbols, personal shorthand I didn't recognize. They meant something to him. But what? I made a note to ask Mom. Driving the Mustang home felt like parading around in a memory. Neighbors watched from their lawns, eyebrows raised, heads nodding as if to say, "There goes James Henderson's son, carrying the torch." And it felt like one. My apartment's parking garage felt too small for a car, like parking a cathedral among cubicles. I draped the cover back over it and made a silent promise I'd treat the car better than I'd treated my father's time. That night, I dreamed of him. We were driving along a cliffside road, ocean on one side, though within our faces, he was smelling gun of the real ones, the kind I hadn't seen in years. He pointed out toward the horizon, but when I turned to look, he was gone. I woke up in tears. The next morning, I called in sick and buried myself in the logbook. Every page gave me a new glimpse of him, not just as a mechanic, but as a man, disciplined, thoughtful, quietly devoted. The strange symbols kept pulling me in. Most of them appeared during my high school and college years when things between us were distant, cold. Whatever he'd written, he hadn't meant it for just anyone. And somehow, I knew those marks were more than just notes. They were a message. 2 weeks later, the check engine light came on. Despite my best efforts to honor Dad's meticulous maintenance habits, this was beyond me. I didn't know enough, and the thought of handing off his pride and joy to a random mechanic made my stomach turn. So I called Mom. "Take it to Charlie's on Elm Street," she said without hesitation. "Your father wouldn't trust anyone else with that car." Charlie's Automotive was a small, spotless garage with vintage posters and a quiet hum of reverence about it. As I pulled in, a stocky man in grease-stained overalls emerged from beneath a Corvette. "Henderson's Mustang," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. It wasn't a question. "I've been expecting this. James always said you'd be behind the wheel one day." The casual certainty in his voice hit harder than I expected. I swallowed. You knew my father well. Charlie nodded. 20 years. He brought this car in like clockwork every 3 months, even if it didn't need anything. Said it was preventative care. Man loved this car, but he loved talking about you even more. That stopped me. He talked about me. Charlie smiled faintly. All the time. Said you were a sharp one. Mentioned your law school graduation. That big case you won last year. The Italy trip you gave your mom. He was proud. Michael couldn't always say it, but believe me, he was. I looked down, jaw tight. Dad had never said any of that to me. Not directly. I'd spent years thinking he barely noticed my achievements. The check engine light came on. I said, voice rough. I don't know what's wrong. Leave her with me, Charlie said. I'll give her the same care your dad would have. Reluctantly, I handed him the keys. It felt less like dropping off a car and more like leaving a family heirloom with a stranger. Charlie caught the hesitation. She's in good hands, he said, his voice low and steady. James made sure I'd know how to take care of her. 4 hours later, the phone rang. You need to come down here, Charlie said. No greeting, no small talk. There's something you should see. Is it serious? The engine. Nothing that can't be fixed, he said, but I found something while checking the fuel line. Something I think your dad meant for you to find. The drive back felt eternal. My head swirled with possibility. Should Dad hid money? A confession? An answer to the strange symbols in the logbook? Charlie was waiting outside, cigarette dangling from his fingers. He stubbed it out as I approached. It's in the trunk, he said, leading me over. The Mustang was parked alone in a corner of the shop, as if set apart for something sacred. I noticed the carpet in the trunk wasn't sitting right, barely a ripple, but I knew this car inside and out. James must have modified it himself as isn't factory. He peeled back the carpet to reveal a panel tucked seamlessly into the frame, a hidden compartment, complete with a numeric keypad. I stared. This was in here the whole time. Not the last time he brought it in 8 months ago. He must have added it after the diagnosis. The keypad blinked at me, waiting. Did he ever mention a code? I asked. Charlie shook his head. Only once. Said, everything that matters can be unlocked with the right understanding. Sounded like philosophy more than instruction. But it felt familiar. Dad loved puzzles, loved layered meanings. I grabbed the maintenance log from the glove box, flipping to the pages with the strange symbols. With fresh eyes, I saw each symbol was a stylized number, mechanical in shape but deliberate. It's a code, I murmured. He left me a trail. One sequence appeared again and again. 10,241,975. My birth date. Hands trembling, I typed it in. Nothing. I tried Dad's birthday, Mom's, their anniversary. Still nothing. Charlie stayed quiet, giving me space. Then a memory surfaced. Fishing with Dad when I was 12. I'd been fumbling with knots, frustrated. He was surprisingly patient. Some things have a specific sequence, he said. Miss one step, and it falls apart. Get it right, and it'll hold stronger than anything. I closed my eyes, chasing that feeling. June 15th, 1998. Our last real day together before everything got complicated. 06151998. The keypad clicked, the panel slid open. Inside, a worn leather pouch, and a sealed envelope. My name, written in Dad's unmistakable handwriting. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter. Michael, it began. If you're reading this, then 2 things have happened. I'm gone, and you started to understand that the Mustang is more than just a car. It's the story of us, the story I was too proud and too stubborn to tell you while I could. He went on to explain the contents of the pouch, his wedding ring and his father's pocket watch. He'd always meant for me to have them but couldn't bring himself to say it in person. Then came the part that undid me. He explained the symbols in the maintenance log. Each one marked a moment in my lifetime's recitals, soccer games, school place milestones I thought he'd missed, times I assumed he'd chosen a wrench over me. The truth is, he wrote, I was scared of not being the father you deserved. scared of saying the wrong thing. So I retreated into what I understood this car. But know this, every minute I spent under that hood, you were on my mind. Every upgrade, every polish you imagined showing it all to you someday. I was building this car for you, long before I knew I was running out of time. The final paragraph shattered me. I was there for more than you knew, even when it seemed like I wasn't. I'd sit in this car and listen to recordings, your debate competitions, that graduation speech. Ask your mother about the recorder she gave me for when I couldn't be there. I never missed a moment, Michael. I just experienced them in my own broken way. By the time I finished, tears blurred the ink on the page. Charlie had moved to the far end of the garage, respectfully giving me space. Inside the pouch were exactly what Dad had described as worn gold ring and a vintage pocket watch, heavy with history. But there was something else the letter hadn't mentioned. A small USB drive. At evening, I plugged it into my laptop with hesitant fingers. Down scenes of audio files appeared, neatly labeled by date and event. My 5th grade science fair, my first mock trial, my law school graduation. I hit play. And suddenly, there I was, younger, awkward, full of nervous energy. My voice filled the room, bouncing off the walls of my apartment as I sat alone surrounded by the artifacts of a love I hadn't recognized until now. The Mustang became more than an inheritance after that day. It became a conversation, a place where I could still hear my father's voice, not just in recordings, but in the echo of the engine, the smooth shift of the gears, the feeling of the wheel under my hands. 6 months later, I took Mom for a drive along the coast. The same road from my dream. She sat in the passenger seat in silence, her hand brushing the dashboard like it might stir his ghost. He'll love this car, she whispered, eyes on the horizon, but never as much as he loved you. I nodded, my hand resting on the pouch that now lived in my jacket pocket. I know that now, I just wish I'd known it sooner. She smiled, not with her mouth, but with her icy kind of smile that comes after loss, softened by time. He knew you'd figure it out. That's why he left you the breadcrumbs. As we drove home, I glanced at the back seat in the mirror, imagining the day I'd tell this story to a child of my own. The Mustang had become more than a car. It was a time capsule, a legacy, a love letter from a father who didn't always have the words but left them anyway, in grease-stained pages and engine hums. And for the first time in years, I didn't just feel closer to him, he felt seen. Some connections, like perfectly tuned engines, outlast everything, even death. If this story touched your heart, please consider leaving a like and following for more emotional journeys through memory, love, and the quiet strength of fathers and sons. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Thank you for being part of this one.